Those are what I'd like to start our day talking about. So when Renee asked me to speak for moms and mentors, I was like, oh gosh, what do I have to say to these young moms? What do I even talk about? But as most of you know me, know that I usually don't have, always have a lot to talk about. I'm usually not at a loss for words. Most of it usually silly and nonsensical, but this morning I really wanted to talk about something that would be meaningful to all of you. Some wisdom I could pass along. Oh, wow. I cannot cry during this. And things that I had to learn the hard way that I hope you can learn better as a younger mom. So honestly, when I began to think about it and pray about it, there was just one theme that continued to come forth, and it was about self-care, or soul care, as John Ortberg refers to it. And I don't mean spa days kind of self-care or facelifts for self-preservation. I really am talking about our inward life and our identity, the woman God uniquely created us and only us to be, our very DNA, what makes us up that no other person on the planet can be. So, and how we can lose ourselves in our roles as mom and wife. It wasn't about spending more time with the kids, or keeping a more organized house, or making dinner each night for my family. All those things are great, but those are all outward things, and what I neglected was me in the middle of being a crazy busy mother of 4 boys, wife, business owner. I lost myself somewhere along the way. And although it may sound trivial, the world and God need you to be all that he created you to be. I think there's a slogan about that. But as we start, I'm going to refer to John Ortberg's book called Soul Keeping. I've just started reading it a while ago, but Jono, interestingly enough, talked about it on Sunday a little bit in his sermon. So we spoke about it a little bit. So the excerpt I'd like to read is the foreword. Now, John Ortberg was a clinical director at a Christian psychiatric hospital. So he's talking about this group time where the staff, all the nurses, and everybody got together to share about their patients and how they all loved every week what that was like, because they shared success stories and how each patient was growing and all of that. So then they refer to this one patient, and her name is Maddie. And so it was time to talk about Maddie. And I could tell everyone's expression changed, or fell would be a better word. Why? Maddie was a very difficult person to like. She had developed a way about her that was off-putting. Even when she was seemingly engaged with others, it seemed that something was always wrong with others and with the world around her, even with us who were trying to help her. Her husband was all too familiar with being the one who was wrong as well. So in John's book, he talks about that, and Maddie's psychologist termed her as, Maddie has no interest in having an interior life. Were words that can too often be applied, and those words can often be applied to me, to others whom I work with, and to pretty much everyone I know. This is John Ortberg talking about that, at least at various moments. While we might not have a clinical problem such as depression or bulimia, we all have issues in life that emanate from our souls, from parts of the soul that have been ignored. It is the human condition. We ignore our internal life, and as a result, we do not have the outside life that we desire relationally or functionally. We get lost, and we need help to be reminded to work on that internal life, the real one, what John is calling our soul. And then one other little note is this interior life, and in what he talks about and what we'll talk about today will reveal its importance. But it will help you get grounded again, or even for the first time, with the one who breathed that life into you and who desires every day to breathe more and more life into every corner of your being. And it will remind you that your soul, your interior life that results in what happens on the outside, is not a temporary state. It is not a focus for your quiet time or just your spiritual journey. a religious sector for the time being. As Jesus said, it is your real life, and you do not want to lose it now or in the eternal future. So back to me and where I was. I showed up in this journey of self-preservation. I showed up in the counselor's office after 16 years of marriage, and might I add, a very broken marriage at that point. And the question he gave me was, what are your hobbies? I literally was like, oh my gosh, I want to slap you right now. Hobbies? I have 4 children. I mean, like I have time for hobbies. I have this and I have that and all that. And then his second zinger was, where did you learn how to be such a martyr? I was like, wow. And I mean, just, he always had a way of giving me these questions that, only he could do, that helped me to kind of break out of the denial I had been living in. And so I was really perplexed at the hobbies thing. I thought that was so selfish, and I was a good Christian mom and wife, and I just, my time was totally devoted to my family. There was no time for me, And and the martyr thing, I probably learned that really well from my Catholic mom who had 13 children. Although she played bridge games with women, and she did some things to take care of herself in the middle of all it, which was great. So and of course the focus is not so much the hobby, but his point is where that emanates from within us. God has created each of us with unique gifts and talents, and when we use them, are in touch with what those gifts and talents truly are, we feel fulfilled and happy, and those around us benefit as only they can, because you're bringing those gifts and talents to the world around you. I would say, if he would have asked me then what my hobbies were, I probably would have said, making school lunches every morning for 4 kids, and running 3 to 6 carpools in a day, and that was pretty minimal. I mean, with sports and everything else they had. I honestly could say that I had no idea what I enjoyed doing. I had so pushed that down, anything with regards to me and what I liked and what I needed. It was really about my husband and kids. And so, and there's that martyrdom thing again that he referred to earlier. So when I did observe other women around me, the ones who had Pokino groups, or those silly things they did, I thought they were silly, but I always noticed that they seemed happy and sort of self-contained when they took time for themselves. And it was okay if the kids, ate grilled cheese sandwiches for dinner and they watched movies with their dad for the night. It was really okay. So, and y'all are probably much better at all that than I am, but I would say that was the beginning of me really looking at myself and how I had lost myself along the way. So I would throw that out to you, what makes your heart sing apart from your husband and kids? And I would encourage you to take time to focus on that in your life. What is it that before you were married that you enjoyed doing? Are you creative? Are you an artist? Or whatever it is, whatever that is, I would just encourage you to once a week make time for that in some way, shape, or form. And like I said, those around you will be blessed that you're functioning in that gift and talent. And then he took us through a little biology lesson to make his second point, which was really fun. He said, when males and females are born in the womb, obviously, the female is developed uninterrupted from the testosterone input, which makes us girls, obviously. The male is formed, however, when the testosterone is present, and at a certain point, it cuts off the synapses. And so what he was trying to help us see is that men and women are made so incredibly different from each other. And there is no way in the world, biologically, that we can meet each other's needs. And so to put that emphasis and focus on a husband and as opposed to taking care of myself and having good women friends to give me what women need as opposed to what men, how they relate. So he was trying to show us that deep in our DNA, men and women are wired totally different. Men are much less emotional than we are. Their brains were not wired for multitasking and so on. I'm sure you've all heard those things. The counselor was helping me to see is like when we've been isolated a lot at home with kids, and husband comes home, and we like hit him with, he calls it 50,000 volts of amperage, you know, when men are wired for 30,000. And he said, it's like a circuit breaker just goes down, and they get that glazed look on their face, and they like have no idea what to say, you know? And more than that, they want to fix it. They don't understand that we as women just need to be heard, and tomorrow it'll all be better. Meanwhile, they're still trying to fix it. So my point in this next point or topic is that we as women really do need women friends around us. He began to talk to me about having 5 women on my support team. And when he said 5 women on my support team, I was like, wow. My whole world has been an all-male world. Growing up, I liked boys better than I did girls. I probably, as Sarah Sue in the audience, Sarah Sue said one time women scared her, and that was kind of how I felt. I was like, they're so catty and trivial. I mean, guys just punch each other in the stomach and they're done, you know? I like that, you know? And so in high school, I really had good guy friends. And of course, I had 8 brothers. And then I had 4 sons, and then I had a husband. So I lived in an all-male world all the time. And so he just began to help me understand how critical it was that I was really reaching out to other women. And it wasn't that, at that time when he said 5 women on your support team, he's like, do you have 5 women on your support team that can really pray for you and walk with you through this difficult time? And I honestly couldn't think of 5 women that I could be that, you know, I had friends, lots of friends in the sense of the things that we did, but 5 women that I could really bare my soul with was, I don't know, it was good that I had 4 sisters. So then I could kind of throw them on for about a week until I worked on this aspect of my life. But the true reality was that I had not been willing to be vulnerable or transparent in my life, to have those deep women friendships. And so as we began to really look into this, it was amazing in my discovery of, you know, great women friends and the difference they brought to me, and as opposed to that. But the other thing that he was helping us to see, as I said, referred to earlier, was he was getting us to begin extracting ourselves and stop blaming each other for our unhappiness. He wanted us to stand on our own and take responsibility in doing what it takes to be happy independent of each other. So the goal was 2 independent people coming together to form a beautiful interdependent relationship. So then he asked me, who are the 5 women on your support team going to be? And again, I said, who has time for friendships? I have 4 boys and so much going on all the time. I don't have a time to breathe and talk to friends. So I really would say that was the most beautiful part of this journey, because I really learned that well. And I'm very happy to report that I have very vibrant and alive women friends today, and it is truly one of the things that brings such joy and happiness, to be able to walk through life's ups and downs, knowing that you can just pick up the phone. They always keep your confidence. They're just there for you to pour your heart out. Please pray for my son. I need prayer today for this. This is how I'm feeling today, whatever it is. Or can you just, my big thing at that time was, okay, here it comes. Can you cup your hands? I'm getting ready to spew. And it would just all come out because there was so much bottled up in there, you know, and it would go on for a long time. So, but an example of that would be even just last week. A young mom and I had a crazy, crazy busy week. My product hit market last week, and it was just one of those really tumultuous weeks, running 12 hours a day. And there was a friend of mine who's a young mom, not single, excuse me, a young mom, and her husband had been out of town for 10 days. And I'm like, hey, you want to go get a margarita? And she's like, yes. Oh, do I need, an appetizer and just adult conversation? And that's what I'm getting at, is the longing we all have for just needing that conversation with other women and bearing your hearts and bearing each other's burdens and letting it go. It's not... a lot of people feel like, oh gosh, I don't want to burden you with it, but when you understand that hurts just need to be heard and burdens just need to be unburdened, you become that kind of friend that can hear it rolls right off your back. We don't carry each other's stuff. We begin to hold it loosely before God and are there for each other. So the last point I would like to make in this, of course, came in the form of another question. What is God speaking to you each week when I'd meet with him? And I thought that was so great of him that he knew God was speaking to me, because I was kind of not thinking I was hearing anything at all. And I was glad that he was certain of that. But his point was more of, are you spending alone time? That I'm making room to even be able to hear from God? Am I making that time to be able to listen? Because in our busyness, it's often very difficult to listen with all of the hurriedness around me. So spending time alone and doing that, even if it's silent and you're not praying or seeking God, just to hear your own thoughts. And that was a totally new concept for me, hearing my own thoughts. I think I was probably scared of my own thoughts. So the soul definitely needs rest. And one of the things I often said is, when I was a young mom, I'd often have these moments where I was so overwhelmed with meeting everybody's needs all day long and never ending, that I'd call it like, I wish I could just go somewhere and stare at a wall. That's all I want to do. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anybody to ask me for anything. I just want to go stare at a wall somewhere. And I didn't take myself up on it. If you ever get to that point, you should go stare at a wall somewhere. Leave, just go to a coffee shop. There's plenty of them around, and just go there and let yourself have that rest in that space. Or even if you can go sit in your car. You don't have to leave. Honey, I'll be back 10 minutes. I promise I'll be a new person, And just let yourself do that. It really is so huge. Devotion time, of course, is key for those of you who do devotion times. Whatever you call the time that you spend going inward and turning away from, as my counselor termed them, the pets in our life. And those are the people, events, and things that are all outward. And while those are great, it does not replace the longing, the deep longing we have from within. And also another excerpt from John Ortberg is on soul keeping is anxiety, depression, fear, loneliness. These are all symptoms of a soul that has lost touch with its source of life. Like a flower snipped from the vine, the soul that is not turned toward God and inward can only wither away. So I highly recommend this book, by the way, if any of you are trying to figure out where you even begin on that. But really, that was my journey. And I would say it honestly took me about 10 years to truly recover myself in that and to really come to terms with who I am and who God created me to be, and to function in those gifts and talents again and as an honor to him. And so that's really the short and sweet message I have. I mean, in closing, I hope that I've been able to give you a few ideas of building a thriving inner life, because as John Ortberg says, it's your real life and you do not want to lose it. So I know we've prepared some questions that'll kind of get you thinking and talking in your groups, but
maybe before she ends, if there's any questions from the floor, I'm sure
Yeah. Oh, yes. So now you can see why it's kind of ironic that I'm the director of women's ministry. But and you can also see my passion for that ministry and having women connect with other women at a deeper level. I can't tell you actually in this past year how many women have come to me with deep, deep stuff going on in their life. And saying, you know, I have no one. Now, this is 3 generations in Santa Barbara, very well-known family. She's at every society event in town. You know, you would think she had a million friends, and she does have a million friends, but no one she can go deep with. And she said, there's nobody I can even share this with, you know, and her husband was struggling with alcoholism, and I mean, that's devastating. And to not have a woman friend that you can really go to and share that heavy load with, that will pray for you, that will weekly check in with you and go, let me walk with you through this for the next couple of months. I would be honored to do that. So in that was before, you know, John asked me, you know, they even talked to me about being director of women's ministry. So it's something God was definitely putting on my heart, because it had been 3 or 4 women that had come, that I had deep conversations with, that said, you know, and I think it's part of our society. We're connected in every way, but yet so unconnected from each other. You know, the texts, the emails, the computer, the social media, all of that does not replace the true longing we have inwardly for those deep connections with other women. So this is what I did, because which was good, because he pretty much had to lead me directly through it. He said, you need to call him on the phone and talk to him, and you need to let them, you know, identify them. Like, hey, will you be on my support team? I'm going through this, and I really need some women to support me in this, you know? And so they would say yes, and then know that, you know, will you pray for me as God puts it on your heart daily? You know, this is what's going on. And I'd love to check in once a week or whatever. And you know, they were definitely really good about that. And I would say today, I probably have a flourishing team of 10 women that I can call at any moment and just go, oh my gosh, you know, please pray for me about this. And they're from various different aspects of my life, and you'll find that through seasons of your life. People move, change, but you keep those deep relationships, even though they're not day-to-day relationships. So I had to really go inward and understand all of that myself. Yes. Running had always been something I did. I actually, the only time I could be habitual about it was at 6 a.m. in the morning, because it was when, you know, everybody was still asleep, and I could do it habitually, and I could have a pattern of it, because that's, as moms, obviously, you know, that's what's kind of frustrating, is not being able to form a habit or have a specific time that you get to do running. And running was so therapeutic. Oh my gosh, huge. Probably is what saved me. I ran my first marathon after my divorce. So that was the year after my divorce. It was all about something I could do that could control the outward, you know, I was fully responsible. I could get up every morning and run X number of miles and know that I would complete a marathon, you know, so yeah, it's amazing. Oh, well, I'm sorry, after my divorce. Yeah, well, that wasn't actually, my kids were old enough to stay by themselves. Bummer. Yeah. Yeah, but I know friends who have neighbors, you know, that live where they are as single moms, you know, and they'll come over. It's another mom who's, you know, doesn't have to be to work till 8 or something, you know, and is willing to do that, you know. So, yeah, really key as a single mom. I think that we need a single mom support group for that. Right.
because they haven't shared that or tried. And so taking that initiative must have been taken a lot of courage to do.
Yeah. And I think, too, the other thing I'm noticing that seems to be a consistent theme is I think as women, we grew up in an era where it was about the power woman. We can do all, be all. We are superwomen, you know? And I would say that's what I could do. I could raise my 4 kids. I could, you know, have 3 different businesses going at the same time and do all and be all to everybody. And I think what the aftermath of that now is disconnected women who, you know, we haven't taken that time to connect with other people. So it is, you know, being understanding. I mean, when it all falls apart, it, you know, it is what you finally have to do to look at all of that. But I would say the big thing that only of us, that all of us can only do is take care of us in the middle of it all. And that's one thing we can control. We can't control other people's choices within a marriage or whatever, but we can control what we do to take care of ourselves and doing what it takes to make ourselves happy in the middle of wherever we are. So happy, too, kind of seems to be a theme this year with Pharrell Williams' song, you know, and happy. It's not something you can just grab or sing a song and be, you know, I mean, but taking responsibility for what that is in your life. And knowing that no other person can make you happy. It really is true. Those outward things can't make you happy within your soul. So,
Where are your boys now?
where are my boys? They're all over. And I am happy to say at the moment, none of them are in jail. And life has had so many ups and downs, and none of them spent any more than 1 night in jail. That's it, you know? DUI, whatever it was. But yes, I'm so happy to say my kids are well on their way now. My youngest is 25. He's in Santa Barbara and involved in the business, and that's really fun. My oldest is in San Diego and has 2 kids, so I'm a grandmother. And he's married and has 2 kids, and that's fun. And my 2 middle boys are back in Baton Rouge, and one's at UT getting his master's. So they're all pretty much in their career paths. And big milestone, 3 weeks ago, my youngest son finally got his own car that we didn't have to co-sign on. That's big, when you finally are off of everything, you know? Yes, yes. I feel really good about that. Yeah, so I had 4 boys in 7 years, by the way. Okay, so just to give you an idea, yeah.
Do you feel like you could interchange contentment for happiness? Or do you see those as 2 different things?
I would say contentment and happiness. I always think of happiness as a worldly thing and joy as a Christian thing, you know, the joy God gives us. But it is true. It is 2 different things. I think contentment is the same, is similar. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because you've got to be content. When you're happy, you are content, you know? I think so. I think so, yeah. And I just know that when I did take, actually it was during a weekend that I finally went on a women's retreat and really connected deeply with some women, was towards the end of my marriage. And I realized came back so full, something I had never felt in so long, you know? And so I would just encourage you to do what it takes to go on walks with other moms that, you know, you have babies in strollers, just go chat and be together and, you know, get out. Go grab appetizers and just an adult conversation for an hour. And the most important thing is it's amazing how much a better wife you are, a better mom you are when you do that. And your kids respect you more, your husband respects you more because they respect you for taking care of yourself. There is nothing to gain in the martyrdom, self-sacrificing, lose yourself way. I am here to tell you that.
How were you able to develop your inner life, your devotional life when you had those kids? Were you able to do it then?
It was more difficult then to have a consistent time, you know, I would say, but I also wasn't religious about it as far as I wasn't hard on myself. wherever it was, wherever you can get that moment. Even like I said, if you're in a carpool line and you know you've got 10 minutes of, silence, that's your time, before all hell breaks loose. No, before you get your little ones and the day is done, just wherever it is that you can have that time. If it means getting up earlier than everybody else, or if it means staying up later than everybody else, I know you all know that stuff. It's, another interesting thing that I think about, that I think is interesting with couples, is sometimes we want to be on the same schedules, go to bed together and do all that. I would say, as I've observed, is this whole independent thing is usually you're opposites. And I think that's God's way of giving you your alone time. Like, my husband is a night owl. I mean, so for us to get for me to think he's going to go to bed with me at 9:30, forget it. He comes in, we pray together, and he goes, I always tease, because I say he has a big party going on out there. He reads research and tax articles, oh my gosh, till about 12 or 1 in the morning, oh my gosh. But to be okay with all those differences, God gave you each other to balance each other out, and that is so key in continuing to be who you're supposed to be. It's like the bend in the bow, my counselor was saying, and when that person loses that bend, the other person doesn't have that balance to push up against. So it's really key in a healthy marriage is that who you are and independent of that other person. Yeah, wait, Laurie's got one more question. Yeah. Some were and some weren't, because of life stages. I mean, as you know, Christians and divorce is not an easy thing. So, or being a single mom without that, I mean, it's just, it can be, I found it very difficult after my divorce, because Christians kind of didn't know what to do with me. I was their worst fear, because we were thought of as the cleaver. So I represented a lot of, if it can happen to her, I might catch that disease, But anyway, so yeah, I would just say, women that I was drawn to and shared, were willing to be transparent and share that life journey.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.